Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to have a proper heart-to-heart with you about something that's been on my mind quite a lot lately. Gratitude. Not the Instagram-worthy, perfectly curated kind of gratitude, but the real, raw, honest appreciation for what we actually have in our lives right now. You know, I was scrolling through social media the other day, as we all do far too much, and I couldn't help but notice how easy it is to get caught up in what everyone else has. The holidays they're taking, the cars they're driving, the houses they're living in, the relationships they're in. It's this endless parade of seemingly perfect lives, and if we're not careful, it can leave us feeling rather rubbish about our own circumstances. But here's the thing, and this is something I've learnt the hard way. Happiness isn't found in having more. It's found in appreciating what's already there. And I know that might sound like something you'd find on a motivational poster in your nan's kitchen, but bear with me, because I think there's real wisdom in this simple truth. We live in an age of constant comparison, don't we? It's never been easier to peek into other people's lives and measure our behind the scenes against their highlight reel. Your mate from university just bought a house. Brilliant for them, but suddenly your rental flat feels a bit shabby. Your colleague got a promotion. Fantastic news. But now you're questioning whether you're doing enough with your career. I remember a few years back, I was going through a particularly tough patch. Money was tight, work was stressful, and it felt like everyone around me was absolutely smashing it, whilst I was just about keeping my head above water. I'd wake up each morning with this knot in my stomach, this feeling that I wasn't enough, that I didn't have enough, that I wasn't doing enough. And then one evening, I was having a cup of tea, proper builder's brew, none of that fancy stuff, and I was moaning to my mum about how behind I felt in life. She listened patiently, as mums do, and then she said something that stuck with me ever since. Love, you're so busy looking at what you don't have that you've forgotten to see what you do have. It was one of those moments that hits you like a ton of bricks, you know, because she was absolutely right. I'd become so focused on the gaps in my life that I'd lost sight of all the good stuff that was already there. Now, I'm not just speaking from personal experience here. There's actually proper science behind the power of gratitude. Research has shown that people who regularly practice gratitude, and I mean actually practice it, not just think about it occasionally, experience better mental health, stronger relationships, and even improved physical well-being. A study by Dr. Robert Emmons at UC Davis found that people who kept gratitude journals for just 10 weeks reported feeling more optimistic about their lives and actually exercised more and visited the doctor less frequently than those who didn't. Fascinating stuff, really. But why does gratitude work so well? Well, our brains are naturally wired to focus on threats and problems. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. We're brilliant at spotting what's wrong, what's missing, what could go wrong. But this means we often overlook what's going right. When we consciously practice gratitude, we're essentially rewiring our brains to notice the positive. We're training ourselves to see the good stuff that was there all along, but got overshadowed by our natural tendency to worry and want more. Here's something I've discovered. The most powerful gratitude isn't usually for the big, obvious things. Yes, it's lovely to be grateful for your health, your family, your job, and we absolutely should be. But the real magic happens when you start noticing the small, everyday miracles that we typically take for granted. The smell of coffee brewing in the morning, the way your dog greets you like you're the most important person in the world, even if you've only popped out to the shops. The fact that you can flip a switch and light up a room.
The way your best mate always knows exactly what to say when you're having a wobble. I started doing this thing where, before I get out of bed each morning, I think of 3 things I'm grateful for. Not grand, life-changing things necessarily, but just 3 things from the previous day or that I can look forward to. Sometimes it's as simple as, I slept well, or I've got leftover pizza for lunch, or my neighbour's cat sat on my garden wall and let me take a photo. It sounds daft, doesn't it? But these tiny moments of appreciation have genuinely changed how I experience my days. Instead of immediately jumping into problem-solving mode or worrying about my to-do list, I start each morning with a gentle reminder that there's good stuff happening all around me.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This is all well and good when life's going smoothly, but what about when things are really tough? What about when you're dealing with loss or illness or financial stress or relationship problems? And you're absolutely right to question this. I'm not suggesting that gratitude is some sort of magical thinking that makes all problems disappear. That would be both naive and insensitive. Sometimes life is genuinely difficult, and it's important to acknowledge that and feel our feelings about it. But here's what I've learned about gratitude during tough times. It's not about pretending everything is fine or forcing yourself to be positive when you're not feeling it. It's about finding small anchors of stability and goodness even in the storm. When my dad was diagnosed with cancer a couple of years ago, gratitude looked very different than it had before. I wasn't grateful for the diagnosis, obviously, but I found myself grateful for the NHS staff who cared for him with such compassion, grateful for friends who showed up with casseroles and offered to drive mum to appointments, grateful for technology that let us video call when we couldn't visit in person. During that period, my daily gratitude practice became less about the pleasant things and more about the people and systems that were holding us all together during a frightening time. It didn't make the situation any less scary or sad, but it reminded me that even in darkness, there are points of light. One of the most beautiful things about gratitude is how it spreads. When you genuinely appreciate someone or something, that energy has a way of rippling outward. You start to see more clearly, speak more kindly, act more generously. I've noticed that when I'm in a grateful headspace, I'm more patient with the person at the checkout who's having a slow day. I'm more likely to text a friend just to say I was thinking of them. I'm more aware of the effort people put into things, whether it's the postman who always waves, or my partner who makes sure there's milk in the fridge, or the person who designed the bus app that tells me exactly when my ride will arrive. This isn't about becoming some sort of relentlessly cheerful person who annoys everyone around them. It's about becoming more present, more aware, more connected to the web of goodness that's already there in your life. So how do we actually do this? How do we move beyond just thinking gratitude is a nice idea to actually living it? First, I think it helps to be specific. Instead of thinking, I'm grateful for my family, try, I'm grateful that my sister always remembers to ask about my job interview, or I'm grateful that my dad still sends me terrible puns via text, even though I never laugh at them. Second, try to engage your senses. Don't just think about what you're grateful for, really feel it. If you're grateful for your morning cuppa, take a moment to actually taste it, smell it, feel the warmth of the mug in your hands. Third, express it when you can. If you're grateful for something someone has done, tell them. If you're grateful for a service or experience, leave a positive review. If you're grateful for a moment in nature, maybe take a photo or write about it. Gratitude becomes more real when we share it.
And finally, be patient with yourself. Like any practice, gratitude gets easier the more you do it, but some days will be harder than others. Some days you might struggle to find anything to appreciate, and that's okay. Just the act of looking is valuable, even if you don't find much.
There's this wonderful paradox about gratitude that I've been thinking about. The more grateful you become for what you have, the more you realize you actually have enough. Not that you stop having goals or dreams or wanting to improve your circumstances, but you stop operating from a place of constant lack. When you're grateful for your current job, you might still want a better one, but you're not miserable every Monday morning. When you're grateful for your small flat, you might still save for a house, but you're not constantly dissatisfied with where you live now. This shift from not enough to enough and maybe more would be nice is genuinely life-changing. It's the difference between living in a state of constant wanting and living in a state of general contentment with room for growth. I'm not suggesting we become complacent or stop striving for better, but there's something beautiful about pursuing improvement from a place of gratitude rather than dissatisfaction, from appreciation rather than desperation. If you're thinking about incorporating more gratitude into your life, here are some approaches that have worked for me and others I know. The classic gratitude journal works brilliantly for some people. Just a few lines each day about what you appreciated. It doesn't have to be profound or beautifully written, just honest. Others prefer mental practices, like that morning routine I mentioned, or taking a gratitude walk where you consciously notice and appreciate things as you go. Some people like gratitude letters, writing to someone who's made a difference in your life, even if you never send it. The act of articulating your appreciation can be powerful in itself. And then there are the spontaneous moments of gratitude, when you catch yourself feeling genuinely appreciative of something and you just pause to really feel it. These unplanned moments of appreciation can be just as valuable as any formal practice.
I want to touch on something important here. Gratitude isn't a cure for mental health issues, and I'd never suggest it should replace professional help when that's needed. But as part of a broader approach to well-being, gratitude can be genuinely helpful. When you're struggling with anxiety or depression, the world can feel very dark, and gratitude might seem impossible or even insulting. During those times, gratitude might be as simple as, "I'm grateful I made it through today," or "I'm grateful for my comfortable bed," or "I'm grateful that this feeling won't last forever." The key is meeting yourself where you are, not where you think you should be. Gratitude isn't about forcing positivity, it's about finding genuine moments of appreciation, however small they might be.
It sometimes helps to zoom out a bit and think about gratitude from a global perspective. If you have access to clean water, you're already luckier than millions of people. If you can choose what to eat for dinner, you have a privilege that many don't. If you're listening to this on a device you own, you have access to technology that would have seemed like magic to previous generations. I'm not saying this to make anyone feel guilty about their circumstances or to suggest that your problems aren't real because others have it worse. That's not helpful to anyone. But sometimes, when I'm feeling sorry for myself, it helps to remember just how extraordinary many of the things I consider ordinary actually are. As we start to wrap up, I want to emphasize that gratitude isn't a one-off thing you do when you remember or when you're feeling particularly philosophical. Like physical fitness or learning a skill, it's something that benefits from regular practice. The beautiful thing is that this practice doesn't require any special equipment or significant time investment. You can practice gratitude whilst brushing your teeth, walking to work, or waiting for the kettle to boil. It's about developing a habit of noticing and appreciating, rather than constantly seeking and wanting. So here's what I want to leave you with today. You already have so much to be grateful for. I know it might not always feel that way, especially when you're scrolling through social media or going through a difficult patch, but it's true. Your ability to understand these words, the roof over your head, the people who care about you, the experiences that have shaped you, the simple fact that you woke up this morning. These aren't small things. They're enormous, wonderful, worthy of appreciation things that we often overlook because they're familiar. Gratitude isn't about settling for less or stopping yourself from wanting more. It's about recognizing the abundance that's already present in your life whilst you work toward whatever comes next. It's about finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. And perhaps most importantly, gratitude is about connection to other people, to the world around you, and to the present moment. In a time when so many of us feel isolated or anxious about the future, gratitude brings us back to what's real, what's here, what's good right now. So tonight, or tomorrow morning, or whenever feels right, take a moment to look around your life. Really look and notice what's there to appreciate. I think you might be surprised by what you find. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this has given you something useful to think about. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.